And welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. Thanks for being with us. I'm Paul Dottino. He is Super Bowl champion Howard Cross. We're going to be here for the next hour to talk Giants football with you, and we really want to focus on your phone calls today. We did draft shows over the course of the weekend, obviously, as the Giants imported a bunch of new players. Yesterday's show, they took a lot of phone calls, but I know there were so many Giants fans out there who still want to vocalize about the guys that they picked. So we do want to focus on your calls today. We'll try to do rapid fire, get in as many as we possibly can, because it's still fresh in your minds. I know that. And you probably have some interesting comments or interesting questions about the entire six-player class. So our phone number is 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. You can hit us up on Twitter later on if you like at #GiantsChat. You can always find an archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcast. And then, of course, I'm at GiantsWFAN. He's at Howard Cross 87.
Yes, I am.
Howard, we have not heard from you since the Giants executed their 6 draft choices. So I think the best way to start this off and get these folks' appetites whetted as to what they may want to discuss with these 6 new players is maybe a quick thumbnail from you as to how you felt about the class. And particularly, I'm very curious to know how much you might have seen Theo Johnson, the tight end out of Penn State, who was taken in the 4th round. Terrific athletic numbers, was not necessarily in the best system for tight ends at Penn State, but he's an all-around dual-threat tight end who a lot of people are going to be very excited to see here.
Well, we'll go from the top. The first-round pick out of LSU, great kid, reminds me a lot kind of like when Odell Beckham, always open.
Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors. I'm not going to call everybody's name.
Well, we want to make sure they know who you mean.
I know. We had a great pick at safety.
Tyler Newman.
Very, very good player. I don't think people realize how good this kid is. A big hitter, great range, can cover sideline to sideline, got a lot of movement, really a big student of the game. I believe, yes, we're talking about the tight end. He is I watched Penn State a few times this year in the Big Ten. He did a great job. He was an inline blocker, can be out in the slot, runs great routes, not afraid of some contact when he goes down the field, has decent speed. Again, a Big Ten team that's like 3 yards in a cloud of dust is not really going to feature a great tight end the way you think they would, but he will be a great addition and probably be a big impact right away when he comes here. I believe the next pick I was thinking of would be the running back.
Well, did you want to go back to the 3rd-round corner first?
The corner from 3rd round.
Yes.
He was good.
That's Andrew Phillips.
I know, but he's been pretty good. I think that there's a big run on corners this year, and I think he could have gone a little higher and was surprised that the Giants were able to. It was almost every pick outside the first pick. I thought they were going to go higher, the way we had them ranked and stuff. Okay. So I was pretty impressed by that. The running back, he out of Purdue is supposedly – I'm saying supposedly because I'm trying to be fair to all the other running backs.
Tyrone Tracy, by the way.
All the other running backs is supposedly the best or the most dynamic running back out of all the backs this year.
Well, he's a former wide receiver.
Yes. So
much like Antonio Gibson from Washington.
Absolutely. So when they say someone is the most dynamic back out of all the backs this year, I think that was pretty interesting a way to describe him. Not that he was not that he's described in ways that you like. If you give him the ball in the open space, he's going to be able to outrun somebody. Yes. If you throw the ball to him, he's going to catch it. A great receiver, which makes him a problem out of the backfield. Yes. He's going to have a lot of different qualities that are going to be a problem for guys. Also put on a ton of weight, moved from receiver to running back, and can run through arm tackles, which kind of that's what you want to see, and hopes to get done. So that also a great pick. Almost every guy was slated higher to be going in the draft, and the Giants somehow they all fell to them.
Interesting thing, and I pass this along to you folks because I know a lot of you guys probably aren't much aware of the name I'm going to mention. You might know him, Howard. Mike Giddings.
Mike Giddings.
Don't know him?
I know.
You know his father,
Yes.
legendary football coach and scout.
Yeah.
Okay. Giddings is a gentleman who many years ago worked under Gil Brandt,
Okay.
who was supposedly the father of college scouting
Yeah.
in terms of the way he put the system together
Yeah.
and how they computerized it and how they defined
How they do it now.
who the prospects were going to be, right? He was the core basic for everything that we do now. He worked with Gil Brandt, later went off on his own, coached in the league for a lot of years in terms of NFL and college, and then became his own scouting service. Now, the way that Giddings does it, he passed away last year. His son is
God
now
bless.
in charge of the system. What they do is they pretend that they are a franchise.
Okay.
And they grade all the players who are going to be in the draft and make up their own board, their own value board. They stack them all as if they are a franchise. What they do, however, what they don't do is they don't look into the injury history. They don't look into the interviews and the personnel profiles. They're strictly looking at tape. It's
Talent.
only, yes, talent.
Yeah.
It's strictly grades based on pure talent. 18 of the 32 National Football League teams use them as a consultant, as a double check and or as an advice giver, if you will, to cross-reference with their own boards. 18 of the 32. That's a lot. It's over half.
That's more than half, yes.
Okay? So they are very, very respected. Giddings said last week in an interview that I heard that in each of the 6 rounds where the Giants picked, they took the highest graded player on their board.
Yeah.
Not the Giants board, although Joe Shane has said that, and a lot of teams will say that. We took the highest guy every time. Well, Giddings said the Giants took the highest graded player on his board in each of the 6 rounds.
Okay.
So that's an independent, and by the way, he does not, as far as I know, he does not work with the Giants. We're not one of the 18 teams.
Nope.
I don't believe.
We're definitely not.
And so that says something, though, Howard, doesn't it?
I think so, but I like him. I think, having people refer to him, the 18 teams refer to him is probably a good barometer. But your scouting department, your guys have to have trust in what they're doing, believe in everything that they've seen, and make good arguments for guys. And when you get past the first 2 or 3 rounds, you either are drafting for need, respectfully, or you're trying to draft the most talented person you can find in that group. And I think the Giants went with the most talented person every time. And I thought that was probably the smartest thing to do because like last year's draft, I think all these kids are going to get some burn this year. Didn't they also draft a linebacker?
No.
No linebacker.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
They took Darius Muasau.
Marcel is the linebacker. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I consider Muasau, he's more of a blown-up strong safety. He had, I believe, Pearson, I think he had over 100 tackles at UCLA last year. And he's like a little over 6 feet, 220 pounds. He was the middle linebacker for UCLA.
Okay.
He's more of a blown-up strong safety. I have a suspicion, Howard, he was taken probably in the thinking of special teams coverage because the new kickoff coverage units and the rules are going to be different.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants eyed him up because he's got a very hot motor, very, very productive, and as playing middle linebacker.
Is he fast?
Yes. Well, he's got enough speed for a linebacker because he's basically a safety in a linebacker's shoes.
Okay.
So, and knowing what Joe Shane said at the owners' meetings, that he had wished that the competition committee had gotten through with the new kickoff rules before free agency because he wanted to be very specific about some people he would target. I think they targeted this UCLA linebacker in round 6 as somebody who they think can be a special teams demon on coverage.
Okay.
That's my thought.
All right. I, again, don't know. I just know that, with the rules changes, I think that all the guys that are going to be, there are guys every year that make the team just on special teams. There used to be guys all the time for specific skills.
Sure.
They've changed the way you do things. The skill is going to be more now elusiveness and speed. It's not going to be going down and blowing up a wedge, but it's going to be interesting to see how this kickoff rule works. And if I would imagine that if it's me, I'm kicking it through the end zone every time because you can't guarantee that everybody's going to get their block at that pace. And you can't guarantee that they won't be able to create a crease that you can't stop because everybody's level.
Well, I think
there's only one level.
And there are a lot of different subdivisions to the new rule, which make it extremely complicated. And I think it's going to be incumbent on these special teams coordinators to really get their guys coached up as to, hey, this is the way it works. Make sure you know it. It's going to be quite an adjustment. Huh?
They're going to some UFL camps right now and talking to their special teams coaches
doubt.
and trying to get a real clue of what's going on. And I've talked to somebody even in the league office they were bragging about, holy smokes, how great this is. And I'm like, did you play special teams? Like, where'd you get that? This is great. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. I think rule changes, for the betterment of the game, I think they do help. I think, us old get off your yard guys kind of like, can't believe they're doing this. But at the same time, if they're trying to make it safer and probably adding a play that was one of the most exciting plays in football, now they didn't get rid of it. They just changed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the way I see it, and again, we can all see it differently, and we don't know exactly where Darren Waller's status is. He just told reporters the other day that he is still training as if he's going to come back, but he doesn't know. The way I see it, Howard, the first 4 players in this Giants draft,
yep.
I think you're going to get immediate contributions out of at least the first 4. Whether or not you get something out of Tracy, he's in a running back by committee room, so I don't know how much you will get out of him right away. And I believe Moisseau is going to be a special teams contributor. If that is how this shakes out, it's a good class.
Well, the running back can be 2 things. He could be the third down back because he's got that kind of ability being a receiver.
Yes.
If he can pick up the blitz and be able to stand in there when somebody's coming on him, that's one. Number 2, another guy who would be phenomenal in the special teams.
He could be.
Because he was a receiver at one time. He probably was a return guy also with that speed. So, yeah, he has a lot of good qualities. So I think it's the first 5 guys that were drafted are going to be immediate contributors.
So that's why right now it's hard not to be excited about this class because I think you will see immediate production. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, the Giants got a little bit of a bonus. They signed Dante Miller, little turbo.
Yeah.
The diminutive. I won't call him small because he's got some thickness to him.
Okay.
He's pretty hard.
Okay.
But diminutive running back who has incredible lightning speed, who, when he signed here, the first thing that came to mind was kickoff return.
Yeah, another returner. Yeah, there's a couple guys like that they got brought in that could be returners.
And you'll probably have 2 kickoff returners back on kickoffs this year with the new rules, don't you think, Howard?
Again, I've seen it a couple times. I've tried to watch some of the UFL games when they're on. I don't know what time they're on because I'm not smart enough to pay attention. But when I do watch them and stuff, I'm specifically looking at the kickoff return, trying to figure out like how is this going to affect the game and what's going on with it. And it's been very interesting. A lot of teams try to kick it into the end zone. Some guys try to kick a really, really high ball and let it like hold in the air so that once it crosses that line of demarcation where you can start the return,
right,
that's when they can go, and they're hoping that the ball will hang long enough so that the coverage team can really put some pressure on the returner. And that's the thing that I thought was interesting also. So there are going to be some new kickoff guys probably coming in the league. Those guys that can kick it through the uprights, they're going to see how high they can kick it as well.
All right, so before we get to the calls, and we're going to go to the phones in just one more minute, Howard, we stand here today, okay, the draft is over. Free agency, well, that always goes on at all times, but the bulk of free agency is over. If there's something you'd still like to see the Giants add to this roster before they get to training camp, what would it be?
Well, I think they did pretty good with the offensive line. They've added some guys that are not going to be injured as the year starts. So they're going to have healthier and a little more depth. I think that was good. I think they've added a cornerback, which is pretty good. Where if he's able to really contribute or not just play in the slot but actually be on the field and play, that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. The safety was great. If they had to do one thing, I would do something to add some depth in the very middle of the defensive line. To see if we can get some guys that we know are going to be able to stop the run. It's going to cause some grief inside to help Dexter out.
Right.
Because Dexter plays when healthy, he did pull a hamstring last year, but when healthy, he plays like almost 80 to 90% of the plays.
Right.
And it'd be great to have, when he comes out of the game, not to be like, okay, Dexter's out. We hope we can stop them.
Did you see enough of flashes out of Jordan Riley last year to feel optimistic about him?
I think he's going to be okay, but, to say he's going to be okay when I wanted him to be like, okay, they need him in the game. He has to be in the game. Him and Dex are in the game at the same time kind of moments. It was more like he was a spell guy, like a rotation guy, and that's good. And he did have some nice moments, but he's going to have to take a big step forward to be a bigger contributor in that middle. Not just eating up blocks, but like making sure that they don't run the ball in the middle of the field, run the ball in the middle of your line, make sure that when the quarterback drops that he's got to either step to the right or left because you're in the middle in the way and he can't see. Those are the kind of things I like to see from the guys, not just Dex, but other guys that are in the middle.
The other guys at defensive tackle, there's of course Nacho.
Yep.
There's also DJ Davidson, who we need to see a little bit more of. Haven't seen a lot in his time here. And then I'm going to tell you something. I got a feeling, and I'm going to tell you why I feel this way, Howard. And you, I got a feeling. When Boogie Basham was at Wake Forest, he played defensive end and 3-technique defensive tackle, and he looked real good doing it. He got to the Bills, they made him an edge rusher, and it didn't work out well.
Okay.
He got to the Giants, and they told him to be a strong side linebacker. That didn't work out so well. He's still under contract. I'm wondering if maybe the Giants might consider Boogie Basham to potentially take some 3-technique snaps like he did at Wake Forest when he really helped himself in terms of value in the draft.
You mean like Jihad Ward did?
Well, I'm just saying. Boogie Basham might be in that equation at 3-technique, and the other guy is Ryan Anderson.
No, Ryan Anderson, yes.
Who I think could also potentially be part of that 3-technique combination for me.
Yeah, Ryan Anderson, yes. Boogie, I'd have to see it to believe it.
Go back and watch the Wake Forest video. You'll see it.
Okay. That's a ways back, but I'd have to see it.
It is a ways back.
Yeah, okay.
I really think he's been miscast because the Bills wanted him to be an edge rusher, and that's not what he does. He doesn't have enough skills to do that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, they miscast him.
I think they did.
All right.
I think they did. And I think last year when he got here, he also wasn't used in the right way. And,
Now, I think that he, again, my view on players is this. You do whatever they ask you to do, and you
correct,
and you make it happen.
Because you're a team player.
Well, if the coach asks you, I was an inline tight end. They moved me out to slot sometimes to come in and block, sometimes to run routes. I did that. I was an inline tight end. They put me in the backfield. Okay, you're going to be the lead blocker on the draw. I'm like, what? Okay, I did that. So
Parcells said, "Cross, get in there."
So you learn to do what they need you to do.
I get you.
If that's got to be the thing you got to learn to do. Like you got to be very, very flexible, very malleable to do anything because you're a football player. If you're a tight end or if you're a outside rusher or an inside rusher, and that's all you know to do, you have a short-lived career unless you're like the best at it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's why we'll look at it.
Well, I bring that up because I think the 3-technique spot is thin, and we thought going in they may grab somebody, and they didn't. And I'm just wondering if maybe this new coaching staff thinks that Anderson and/or Basham might be able to help out some.
Again.
They just might be. They just might be. Something to keep an eye on at training camp.
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
I'll take a couple looks.
All right. 201-939-4513. Couple of business items before we get to your calls. The Giants Huddle podcast features all these long-form interviews with players, coaches, NFL dignitaries, and all kinds of national media. Remember, the Giants Huddle podcast is available on giants.com/podcasts and also your favorite podcast platforms. Giants fans, take your fandom to the next level. The season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2024 season. To learn more about the all-exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. And, of course, there's the Giants TV mobile app, bringing original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. Howard, I think it's time to get to the phones.
Let's see what they got to say. I'm
All
looking
right,
forward to it.
let's start the program off. And our first caller of the afternoon is on line 1, Jay in Phoenix. You are on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Good morning in Phoenix, I guess, right?
Morning. Yeah, it is morning out here. Yeah, I was going to say good morning, but I realized you guys it's past lunch out there.
Absolutely.
Anyway, you guys did an awesome summary. I was going to do the same thing about the players that you brought on. And I'm glad you threw Dante Miller in there. The other person I was thinking to throw into this class, too, was Brian Burns. And that second-round pick was 39, and we could have used it on something else, but instead we got an established up-and-coming pass rusher in the NFL, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, because of that trade with Carolina, for those of you who might have forgot, the Giants did execute a trade to get Brian Burns in here, signed him to a contract extension.
Free agent.
And that second-round pick, it was one of 2 second-round picks the Giants have. That was a very sexy piece of real estate to give to Carolina in that trade to bring in Burns. So you're absolutely right. And to be honest with you, remember, they also traded their 7th-round pick this year right before last year's preseason game to get Isaiah Simmons, who has re-signed, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Which I'm really, really happy to say. And so, do you want to consider Simmons and Burns part of this draft class? Feel free to do so, because I think those guys are big pluses.
No, I think Burns.
Let's do it. I like that idea.
I think Burns is like a established player. I don't think he's part of the draft class because remember that I think it was the
in terms of value though.
Yeah, but
what he's talking about, I get
the
it.
Rams offered 2 first-round picks for him the year before.
They did.
So yeah, I think he's something else. I'm excited to see him in a blue uniform.
Okay, Jay, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. No, and I wanted to talk primarily about Malik Neighbors and just. I think it was funny because, like you guys, I was going back and forth. Do I want him or Roma Dunze? I'm glad we ended up with Malik Neighbors because he replaces some of that explosiveness that Saquon had, and I think he's exactly what Daniel Jones needs, which is he gets open quick.
Yep.
He'll get open quick. He creates that separation so that Daniel can get the ball out of his hands, especially early in the season when the offensive line's going to need time to gel. And he may not have as much time. Just get that ball out quick to Malik and see how what happens from there.
Yeah, I think he's again. I tell people this all the time. They're like, well, "Can you compare him to someone?" I was like, "He looks like what Odell looked like coming out of college. He's that guy that like all of a sudden he catches a slant and it's a touchdown. If you try to step up on him to keep him from running the slant, he goes a slant go and he's a touchdown. So he looks like, and he catches the ball with his hands, which is another great trait that receivers have, that a lot of receivers you want to have, and I think that's going to be a big difference maker. Like a guy that can get open that quickly, and once he's open, you got to get to him quickly, or else he's going to the house. That's going to make a lot of defenses take notice right away.
Yeah, and I could stay on the line forever and just keep talking about all the other draft picks, but just one final note. I want to be on the record. I'm one of the players. I'm one of the fans who says I want to see Daniel get healthy and I want to have him see nothing but success. Let's stop this nonsense. He's our quarterback right now. Worry about the future when it need to. Right now, he's the guy. Let's go. Let's see some positivity coming his way.
Absolutely. I'm pulling for him too. Absolutely.
Good call, Jay. Appreciate it. 201-939-4513. We go to line 2. Joe in Connecticut. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? I don't know. Can you hear me all right on the speakerphone?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sir.
Okay. How you doing? So, just like Jay said, I'm 7 years old. I started watching football, Y.A. Tittle. My father became ill. He got diabetes. He went blind, and I used to play by play the game to him when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And
that's admirable. Yeah, good for you.
That's awesome, actually.
Chris Schenkel used to say, "The Giants come out on the field." I used to love that. So, anyhow, so Howard, I got your card. I got a signed autographed photo of you.
That's pretty cool.
Hanging on my wall over here in my Giants room. But and Paul, you're older too, and I just wanted to say, it really bothers me. Like Jay said, I compare it with Phil Simms. Phil Simms was drafted in '79, separated his shoulder in 81. I got some notes here. 82, he hurt his knee.
Keep reading.
83, I was at the game when he dislocated after he beat out Scott Bruner. Then he hurts his thumb.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then he had to fight for his job against Rutledge in 84 and beat him out. And then ever since then, he played well, and in the Super Bowl, right, 25.
The only correction I'll make is that Bill did actually pick Bruner to start in 83, and that was a bit of an issue that I know the Tuna always regretted. But the fact remains here: Phil Simms had nothing but an injury-plagued early career from the time he was drafted in 1979 until he became the Giants' full-fledged starter in 84 and immediately led them to the playoffs. And how many people said he was a bust, he was shot, he was no good, he was injury-prone and was never going to amount to anything, and he turned it around.
Well,
that's right.
He also turned it around after the offensive line kind of turned it around.
Yes.
It wasn't.
No question. No question. He didn't have to run for his life anymore.
It wasn't like Phil superhuman or something.
What people don't remember is that Simms was a big-time scrambler his first few years in the league because he had to be.
Yeah, he could. And then, he took some shots. I mean, I got a film right here. It's a cassette, Giants Among Men in 1986. From the opening day of the Super Bowl. And if you watch that, you see some of the hits that he took in his back. I mean, the quarterbacks are so protected now. I mean, the guy was tough. And then he started lifting weights and everything. And,
Parcells used to say he was a football player. He wasn't a quarterback.
Oh, man. And I think Daniel Jones is getting a raw deal here because, he was injured. What about in 22? He had a rating in 22 of 92%. Even in the 19 year, he had 22 touchdowns in 2019. So, the ACL injury is not a running back, okay? He's a quarterback. He's going to run a little bit. Mm-hmm. I had an ACL when I was in high school. I played wide out and safety. And I was able to, sustain it, but, running back's a little bit different. I understand, but, they just want to throw him under the table already. I hope he comes out there and shows everybody up, man. I tell you, I just want him to have a great year. And I think that, and I already told my buddies, Giants are going to be 12-4, and we're taking the NFC East.
Ooh, okay.
That sounds pretty strong.
That would be a fun year.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the phone call. Be well. 201-939-4513. Howard, I think a lot of the people who are quick to dump on Daniel Jones because of his injuries probably aren't 40 years old. They're younger. They're in their teens. They're in their 20s. Maybe they're 30. They don't remember what Phil Simms went through and how many obstacles that he had to climb over and all of the injuries that almost derailed his career until he finally was able to turn things around. If you have lived through that, and I covered those teams. Remember, I started covering this team in 1983, all right, when Bruner actually got named starter. If you were around and understood that stuff and can use that as a frame of reference, you're probably a little more patient with Daniel.
I just, I don't think fans will ever be patient with anything.
That's a good point.
I want to go make sure that we all know that. I know that, Coach Dayball, Coach of the Year, 1 year, the next year, like, how much time does he have left? I'm like, it's all crazy because fans are short for fanatic. I get it. When I look at, when I came into the league, Phil Simms was 1988 or 89. So Phil was in the league for like almost 10 years. I come into the weight room. He's lifting more weights than most of the guys in the weight room.
Oh, he was really, really a go-getter.
He was fighting it because he knew that, he wasn't always going to be protected. And then by the time I got to the league, he had a great offensive line in front of him. They were protecting him pretty well. I think Daniels kind of suffers from some of the same moments. He does run the ball a lot, and that, that kind of puts him at risk, but he doesn't run and get hit a lot. His problem comes when he's getting hit, dropping back, getting hit from the blind side, getting hit, in his face sometimes. It just takes a toll on him. And I think like in the first game of the season last year, he was a part of like 20 or 22 hits in that game.
Dallas destroyed him.
Yeah, Dallas destroyed the offensive line.
Yes.
Yeah,
but he took the brunt of it.
Yeah, but he was the one back there. He was like, oh yeah, they were like joking on the sidelines about it. So you have to be, reasonable, smart, and understand. People are like, well, if you put somebody else back there, like you can't put nobody back there if ain't nobody blocking. And it reminds me of the joke when they had when Carr was at Texas, and they were like saying the NFL draft, and they said
in Houston,
and he was like, he's standing behind like blue 19. There's nobody in front of him. In the commercial, I'm like, and again, we got some guys. We got a guy that's an all-pro player up there that was injured for most of the year. Guys got to be healthy. You got to be ready to go. I think they're going to have a better year. I think you brought in some nice pieces to try to help build a consistent offensive line. You got 5 guys that could play more than half the season together. I think that gives him a great chance to be, the guy he wants to be.
201-939-4513. We go to Jason in New Haven. You're next on the program. Hello.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Hey, how we doing?
Good afternoon.
Thank you for taking my call. I just overall for the draft thought it was very good, and I wanted to say thank you to Joe Shane and Dable, and here's why I say that. The fact that we didn't go QB just for going to QB sake pick, there was like a level of differentiation, and that they didn't cave into the media or maybe what some Giants fans wanted. And we got a lot of speed, we got a lot of weapons, and Daniel wasn't going anywhere this year. So even if they drafted a quarterback, would our offense be more explosive, or would it be the same? It'd probably be the same because we still wouldn't have a weapon. Mm-hmm. And more than likely, Daniel would be starting over that rookie anyway. So I'm glad those guys didn't cave into the pressure. I never thought quarterback was really in the mix at 6. Mm-hmm. Apparently, they said, a few media outlets said the Giants tried to trade up from a quote unquote from other media sources. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. Maybe they said, hey, let's see if, I forgot what team picked them up, New England. Let's see if they'll bite, but I doubt New England ever would have took that low of a deal. So I'm glad they didn't cave into the pressure. I don't know if you guys want to respond to that or have me keep going.
I don't know what pressure there was from the outside. I just thought that they needed to start trying to build up some weapons on the outside, give your quarterback and some protection up front, give him some weapons outside, some backs to protect him as well. See what he can do. You got him for at least 2 more years. Before you have to really think about the cap hit and anything like that. So I think you give him the 2 years. And in 2 years, we don't know who's going to be quarterback that's coming out in the draft. And if it didn't work out, you'd be able to, quote, unquote, get somebody in 2 years. But right now you have a quarterback, you're getting weapons. You got a young, explosive receiver on his rookie contract. You got a safety, which you need with McKinney leaving. You got a cornerback also that could potentially be a starter. You got the right guys to come in. They did a great job. Joe Shane and those guys, they do a really good job at evaluating talent and bringing those guys to the Giants.
Right. Yeah. So I thought all the picks were good. A few bullet points. The one guy I'm really excited about, of course, Neighbors, the young man from Minnesota, Newbin, he looks like a real good player. Mm-hmm. But the player I really have my eye on was that Tracy pick. I really don't think fans know what – I think he's really going to be a weapon. Now, do I think he's going to start over Singletary as a vet? Probably not. But when you look at some of the players Shane and Dable have been drafting, they're really drafting athletically gifted players. And when you look at Tracy, I'm hooked. I mean, there's no shortage of fast backs in the league. Mm-hmm. But the thing I noticed with Tracy is the vision with his speed. Now, he doesn't have that breakaway speed that Saquon had when he first came to us and was at 2018. He doesn't have that. But his vision and the way he maneuvers in and out of the hole and his footwork to make defenders miss is, in my opinion, the best in the draft. Now, there are probably better running backs because he's only played 1 year of running back. But he has a lot of meat on the bone, and he doesn't really have a lot of mileage on those legs. So, I mean, kudos to Shane and Dave for even identifying him. It seems they picked him for a real purpose. I think he's going to be a really good sneaky mismatch on third downs, maybe some screens. out of the backfield. He was a wide receiver at Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. So I really like that. And then 2 more points, and then I'll take it off. I like Calais Campbell as maybe a free agent pickup. I know some fans will say, well, he's a little older. But if you're looking for a player, I believe he's had over 100 sacks as a 3 technique in his career. I mean, he had some inside-outside versatility when he first came in the league. But the last few years in the league, when he played for Jacksonville and Baltimore, a lot of his sacks, a lot of his pressures came from that 3 technique. And I would really like to see if we can even afford him. I think he's still a free agent. I don't know what I'm sure Shane can make money available if he needs to, but that's a veteran D tackle I would really like to see with Dexter. And he doesn't even really have to start. I would like to see him with Dexter and the other 2 players, Simmons and Boogie Basham. Paul, I agree with you. I think they're going to try him at, let's say they don't want to spend the money for a 3 tech, which is a possibility. I mean, I don't see why Boogie Basham or Ryan Anderson can't make this squad as maybe a 3rd down pass rusher inside. You could do some twists and stunts with those players. So I'll take those 3. Let me know how you feel about Calais Campbell. And
he just
Simmons
signed with the Ravens, by the way. Campbell went back to Baltimore, so you can't have him.
Oh, man, I had my eye on him for like the last few years. I'm like, he's a really good player.
I was just checking now because I thought I heard something, so I was looking it up on the internet as you were talking, and I was right. He's going back to the Ravens.
Okay, and Paul, one player, the last pick, the linebacker.
Yes.
If I could respectfully disagree with you, I think he's gonna. He may. He's not starting. I mean, if Simmons and McFadden and Bobby on the roster, those guys are getting the bulk of the snaps, which they should. They've earned those snaps. But if you look at Shane Bowen's defense in the last few years in Tennessee, he's always had, like, a lot of his linebackers weren't 6'2", 230. Like, he had Monty Rice, and he had the young man, I think he went to Miami as a free agent, where they were like 5'11", 6 feet, maybe 230, 225, but they were lightning quick, and those the big defensive tackles they had in Tennessee kind of kept them clean. So I think LaSalle may get some snaps. He'll be a core special teams player, I'm assuming, but I wouldn't be surprised if they throw him in some sub packages and just tell him, hey, just go run down the ball carrier. So thanks for taking my call, fellas.
All right, thank you. 201-939-4513. Wasau, by the way, ran a 4.6 in the 40. That's what they timed him at. And again, to give you his dimensions, 6 feet, 225 pounds. Like I say, he's kind of a blown-up, strong safety.
He's probably like more of a weak side guy, or what we would call hero. The guy that goes around and makes different kinds of plays. So.
Now think about the outside linebackers the Giants have though on the depth chart right now. They've got Thibodeau, they've got Burns, they've got Ojulari. McFadden is kind of he's kind of the coverage linebacker who plays on the inside in the sub package. Yeah. There's a bunch of guys.
That's where he would be.
Right, but there's a bunch of guys ahead of him. Yeah. So I don't know that he's going to get on the field in the defense.
Well, I'll say it like this, and this is nothing against any player anywhere. When you show up to a team, if your idea of the team is like, I'm playing behind X and Y and trying to figure it out, then you're going to have a hard time. If you don't show up and think like, hey, I'm ready to contribute, I'm ready to play.
Oh, you better be ready to fight.
And study for, whatever it is that you got to study for. My rookie year, I came in here at 6th round draft pick, Bavaro, Moat. They wouldn't even let me, they didn't want me to practice. They didn't want me like, Moat.
I knew you'd make the team.
Bavaro was like, yeah, okay, kid, get in there. Moat's like, don't let him on the field. You don't want to you keep him off the field. Trust me. And I love Zeke. You go through the season. Coach is always talking to you. You're trying to figure it out. But my whole thing was study the playbook, understand every play, understand every position, because you're just one play away. And once we went out to the San Diego Chargers and played them, I think Bavaro went down in one play. Can you play the travel? Yeah, I can play the travel guy. I can get.
That was the Vince Glenn hit, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, and then the next series, Moat went out.
Yeah.
They're like, can you play the Y? I'm like, yeah, I can play the Y. They're like, okay, and I played the whole game, not the last quarter. I played the entire game as a starting tight end. So yeah, if you don't come in thinking you can play, knowing that you can compete, you're playing with grown men that got mortgages. you're not going to make it.
By the way, another one of the edge linebackers on the depth chart is Tamon Fox.
Yeah.
He's still here, too.
Again,
There's a lot of guys.
A lot of this is going to shake out.
Sure will.
A lot of this is going to shake out. We got a
competition is good, Howard.
different coordinator. He has different expectations. It's going to be taught a little different. A lot of guys, it's going to shake out. It's going to shake out a little different than people think.
201-939-4513. We go to Len from Maryland. You're next on BBKL. Hello.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey,
All right,
Len, what's
Len.
going on?
Good. Hey, listen, I love when those names of those players from back in the 80s come up. Zeke Moat, oh, my goodness. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, didn't he, Paul? Back of the end zone?
Zeke?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
Against the
great
Broncos.
player.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, against the Broncos, right? I remember that play clear as day. Back of the end zone, Phil running around a little bit.
He was wide
Finally
open.
found Zeke. Yeah, wide open in the back of the end zone. Beautiful. That was a great day, by the way, Paul.
It sure was.
Okay, listen, hey, it's a great day to be a Giants fan. You know, we got a lot of new blood, terrific draft. I have to admit I'm not quite as high as everybody else was on this draft. I have some questions, and I'd like to explore those with you,
Please.
if I may. But, the thing that really struck me about this draft, every one of these players, it seemed, has grown in their ability to play this game. That is, their sophomore year is better than their freshman year. Their junior year is better than their freshman, but then their sophomore year and senior year was their best. They're coming off their best years. They're ascending players. I think their best football is ahead of them, Paul. And I just hope it all works out.
That's a good point.
And
Common thread.
I really think that may have been part of the strategy. Look for guys who are coming off their best season, as college players. Well, the first two picks, what can you say? I favored Odunze, but Neighbors is going to be terrific. I mean, he's just going to be a great player. We're going to have a lot of fun watching him. He's going to help us immensely. That first night, we automatically became a better team when he got drafted. The safety, I really wanted Jenkins there. The defensive end from Michigan.
Defensive tackle.
Yeah, the defensive tackle.
Right.
It's a three-technique guy.
Yes.
And he went 2 picks later, so I was pretty close in having him go where I wanted him. But if there was going to be one position that we filled in not drafting Jenkins, it was safety. And whenever you can get, guys, I think, the consensus best player at that position, you've picked a great guy.
Yeah.
And I think we did. I think he was the consensus number one. I know he was the 47th pick, but again, anytime you can get the number one player at that position, I think you picked a great guy.
He was certainly consensus 1 or 2 at the combine. When John and I were out there, everybody said he'd be 1 or 2. So he's right up there.
Yeah. If he had been just a little faster, he probably would have been a first-round pick. But hey, he fills a need. The reason why I said I'm glad we picked a safety rather than another position there, if not Jenkins, I think we really had a need there. I think there's a lot of empty chairs in that safety room, and we needed another body, and I think we got a good one there. A little bit on a tangent here, Paulie or Howard, have you seen Pinnock? He was coming off that injury, a foot injury, at the end of the season. Is he around, Paul?
The players are already started their off-season program, and the only thing that I'm allowed to say, because I can't tell you who I've seen and who I have not, that's not part of what we're allowed to do.
Right.
I can only say to you that you don't have any alarms going off for any reason to be concerned. How about that?
Great.
Is that fair?
Terrific.
Howard?
That's fair.
Terrific.
That's more than you're supposed to say. Well, go ahead.
On the third round, quick, and I'll try to make this quick, guys. I know you got other callers, but on the third round pick, I'm not as high as everybody else is. While we got the safety, the number one at that position, consider Phillips was at 70. Was the 11th cornerback chosen. Of the next 70 picks, there were only 6 quarterbacks chosen, and 3 of those were right up. Were like 137, 139, 140. Hart from Notre Dame was 140, Howard.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was almost like we got the last guy there at cornerback. And I don't know. We'll see.
Len, I'll tell you
know,
this. At the Combine,
Yeah.
again, I get a lot of research that I get done at the Combine. There
Yeah.
seemed to be a very strong feeling that if you wanted a playable corner who could give you some valuable and productive reps right away, you were going to have to get him by the end of the third round. That's the
Okay.
way the Combine chatter was going. You were going to have three
Okay.
good rounds of corners.
What happened was, Lynn, is that the draft went kind of like this. They had a big run on offense right off the bat. The defensive guys
Yeah.
started to fall probably around
Right.
pick 12 and going down.
Right.
When you have a big run on offense like that, some of the players that would be higher get pushed down as well. And, you know,
Yeah.
and then the pick at 8
Sure.
right, by Atlanta taking
Okay.
another quarterback.
Yeah.
Then Denver was forced to take a guy that,
Yeah.
not saying that they didn't want the quarterback, but they're taking a guy that probably would have been down lower in the lower 20s or something. It kind of pushes a lot of people back. And once you start pushing
Yeah.
people back, you have to draft boards change dramatically because you got people circled like, hey, I'd really like to pick this guy, but he probably won't be there. And then all of a sudden he's there. The guys you had on your board to pick get slid down also. So it's just a, you know, it's trickle down effect for guys. And I thought the Giants did a good job of getting the best available player at the position when they came up. So I just thought it wasn't a draft of quote unquote need so much, even though the safety is a big need, the receiver was a need, but it became, you know, the best player showed up at the right time.
Need value matched
Yeah.
right through the draft for the Giants.
Yeah, okay. All right, go for it, Andrew. Love the tight end, ascending player. I mean, if Waller doesn't come back, guys, my opinion, Johnson's going to be the starter by midseason. He's just going to emerge right away. I have a question about Tracy, but we can move on quickly. I mean, 1 year at running back, I don't know. I'm hoping for the best with him.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, with the linebacker, I would have gone quarterback there. We got to get another quarterback.
That's a waste. That's a wasted pick, Len. If you take a quarterback there, it's a wasted pick.
And this is
it's not.
Well, the reason why it would be wasted, Lane, because you have 3 guys on the roster now. So let's say you get this guy at 6. If you don't think he's going to be a potential developmental player that could definitely play, you're going to have to release him probably and bring him back.
Well,
right, and
I don't know.
And that's the hope, or you're going to have to release one of the guys that you have that you need right now and try to slip them back. Teams need quarterbacks. I think something like 100 quarterbacks played last year.
Yeah. Look, we got Daniel who's injured. We really don't know. I know everything. Everybody wants to think positively about the injury. You know, we need another quarterback. I would have gone with Pratt from Tulane. He went in the 7th round. I would have picked him. You know, Paul, if you look down the road, all the rumors about Daniel next year, Luck is on a 1-year contract. Tommy's contract's up next year. We could go into free agency next year with absolutely no quarterbacks on the roster. I mean, I don't know how you. I don't know. You know, I would have gone quarterback. Hey, but listen, go Giants. Positive draft. Looking forward to seeing these guys play. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
No problem, Len. 201-939-4513. Yeah, you know, it seems as though, and we heard Joe Shane talk about this before the draft, he was very, very direct about it. I'm comfortable going in with these 3 quarterbacks. And after the draft, when he was asked about it again, he said the same thing again. You know, because he's got his incumbent. He's got Drew Lock, who they believe with a quarterback guru like Brian Dable, if called upon, they think that he can bring out some more in Lock, which that shows a lot of faith and confidence in your head coach, who is known to be good with quarterbacks. And then you've got Tommy DeVito, who really came out of nowhere last year to show that he was capable of actually winning games in the NFL.
Well, I think like this, and I tell people all the time, the thing that hurt the Giants mostly last year was not the quarterback play. It was the offensive line being so devastated with injury. If they can, like I said, if they can have guys for at least half the season stay together, I think the quarterback play is going to skyrocket. And that's not, saying that oh my God, Daniel's going to be the greatest quarterback in history. But from where our team was last year to where it could be this year, if everyone's healthy up front and they're able to play together and they got their scheme down, it's going to look a lot different.
Yeah.
And it just will.
And the only way to take a quarterback there, Len, if you take one at 6, you're basically saying he's making the 53 as the third quarterback and DeVito's gone. Because if you try to pass him through waivers to the practice squad, he'll get claimed.
No, yeah, DeVito will get claimed in minutes.
Sure he will.
Because there were so many guys. Like, we played 3 quarterbacks.
Yes. And he's proven that he can actually win a game on a 2-minute drive in the National Football League. As I had a scout say to me, he goes, "Did you watch the Green Bay game?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "A lot of guys around the league watch that. And if you try to clear him through waivers, he will get taken in a heartbeat."
Yes, you have 3 quarterbacks on the team now.
That's it.
But that you're hoping to get, hoping Daniel comes back super healthy and able to do all the stuff he can do. But it all depends on that line up front, and I think
no doubt
they've improved it a lot. So let's see if we can get us 5 solid guys up there that can get something done. Maybe get 2 Pro Bowlers out of the group. That would be awesome.
And I'm not so sure that even Michael Pratt, who he suggested, I'm not so sure that he's a better prospect at this point than Tommy DeVito. He hasn't proven he can take a snap in the NFL. DeVito's proven he can win a game.
The only guy I would have looked at would have been the kid from Florida State.
Travis.
Yeah, and the only reason I would have looked at him because people would have been looking at him as he was injured, and they wouldn't have been so.
Oh, he got taken, though.
I know he got taken.
Jets.
I told you, I would have been looking at him.
So they got 3 guys coming off injury.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers, Taylor, and Travis. Good luck. Good luck. We go to line 2. Xavier from Pennsylvania. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
Good to talk to you.
What's going on?
2 things I would like to talk to. Hey, Howard. First off, I am 31 years old, Paul. You made a comment that some of the guys that's younger than 40 really have a weird, not weird, but like
you won't have the same perspective if you weren't around when Phil overcame the obstacles. I think that's fair.
Right.
A lot of people weren't around. I get it. I was, so I understand.
Right. So my first of all, I'm going to talk about the draft. I would like to go backwards. Tracy, he was my second running back that I wanted the Giants to take.
No kidding.
Yes.
Who was number 1?
Trey, Florida State, the Florida State guy. Benson.
Yeah.
Or Tracy. The reason I say Tracy because he's an athlete at the position.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we have in the room. Losing Saquon was big, but also what was big for us with Saquon was the route running outside of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that gave us more. What Tracy does, being a receiver, he has that combo. What Saquon has, I'm not saying he is Saquon or going to give us production as Saquon, but just a receiver coming out the backfield definitely helps.
Matchup elusiveness is something he's got, which is really good.
Correct. The tight end was my second one. My first one, Warley from TCU, was my second one.
Mm-hmm.
The cornerback, I thought TJ Tampa was that or Cam Hart. And I was
bigger
mad
guys.
Yes, I was mad that homegrown Max got drafted so fast.
Milton.
I was hoping he fell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was my pick. And then the safety, I was all on board with the safety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reason I started backwards because it's going to help me go into my second one. Neighbors. Let's really dive in with Neighbors. Neighbors is one of those generation talents that you don't see often.
Yeah.
This kid beat Jamar Chase numbers. We talking about Justin Jefferson numbers, Odell numbers. He surpassed all of them in 3 years at LSU. Now, everybody say he is an Odell Beckham. To me, I get the comparison of Antonio Brown from the Steelers and Jamar Chase. He's just super fast.
Not too shabby, huh?
Right. It's just mind-boggling how quick he can just turn on the wheels. And that leads me into Daniel. I know everybody is so down on Daniel. I believe in Daniel. I've been believing in Daniel since his rookie year when he came back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I knew he was serious. A lot of quarterbacks can't do that under the rest that he had. We had Nate Soldiers at right tackle at the time.
Poor
and
Nate.
there's no shot at Nate Soldiers.
I know.
Left tackle, but yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. And then we had Golden Tate. Now, fast forward to 22, our best receiver was, what's the kid name? He went to the Chiefs after. David Sills was on that roster.
I'm forgetting myself, too. He had 57 catches.
Yeah.
You remember the former kick returner.
James.
Yes. Yes,
so
exactly.
My thing is this. A lot of people don't know the potential of Daniel. Daniel put the team on his back so many times that year, and look at the quarterbacks he beat. With Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, them two, I think, going to have the best. I think Wan'Dale Robinson going to surprise a lot of people this year. If you watch him at the end of the season, he was just putting people on the island. It was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Where that CeeDee Lamb himself was just raving about him and named him in his top 6 as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves me. I think this is a bold prediction, and I'll take the rest off the air. This is my bold prediction. I think the Giants will go 10-7 or 11-6. Now, I think Daniel Jones will be one of the contenders to have the comeback player of the year. ACL is not that. Everybody say, I tore my ACL my sophomore year. My meniscus is the reason why I had a back step. But an ACL is not that terrible. Just tearing an ACL is not that big. I'm just being honest. So, and playing at the quarterback position, I think if we get above average line play, I think Malik Neighbors will be one of the contenders of Rookie Player of the Year, and Wan'Dale Robinson will get close to 1,000 yards this year.
Wow.
That's my bold prediction. I know it's super bold, but the way Daniel played 2 years ago, we forget that he beat Kirk Cousins. He beat Lamar Jackson. He beat these good quarterbacks that everybody rave about with a mediocre wide receiver play.
That's true. No offense to the receivers.
We had a rookie, and we had a rookie tight end in Behringer. I think Johnson will start over Behringer because, one, he can block better and he's more athletic. I'm not. There's no shot to Behringer. I hope I'm not.
Bellinger had a down year last year. I thought he showed more as a rookie, to be honest, Howard.
I don't think he had a down year. I think he had the year. I think he had the year that was the year. I think you used him a lot to do a lot of chip blocking and a lot of other stuff to try to keep. The line was struggling, so they were doing. Bringing him out of the back, bringing him into the backfield to try to pick up blitzes and stuff and twists. Is not. You don't have numbers for that. I played a lot of years where like, hey, look, can you help me out? I'm like, it's Reggie White. I'd rather be running a pass pattern than getting slapped. But if you want me to, I can stand in his way.
Xavier, I appreciate the call, and I throw this out to you. For every single person out there who wants to slam and rip Daniel Jones, I just wonder if they'll be watching when the Giants are in the playoffs and Jones is starting that game at quarterback. I wonder, are they going to watch that game or are they going to disqualify themselves from watching that game?
Listen, all I'm going to say is this. I'm going to keep saying it over and over. If this offensive line with all these extra players we picked up in free agency is pretty decent, just together, and the offensive line coach can get them to pick up twist and blitz, I think that they're going to be, I think there's going to be a lot more time to throw the ball. With any time to throw the ball, with a guy like Neighbors and Robinson out there, that could be a problem. And don't forget Hyatt.
Yeah,
running 4-0 on the outside.
Absolutely.
So there could be some problems for some guys. So it's going to be interesting to see. My hope is the O-line plays really good, and the D-line, especially the interior, can slow down and stop the run. If we can do those two things, there'll be some sacks this year. And those should be some fun.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. We are here every weekday live from 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time till 1:30 to take your phone calls at 201-939-4513. Again, get us at #GiantsChat if you like. He's at Howard Cross 87. I am at Giants WFAN. Howard, good to see you again.
Good to see you, man.
Be well. Everybody out there, take care of yourselves. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. So long, everybody.